Hello. Hello. Welcome to the podcast Everyday Ordinary Extraordinary Women. I'm here with Christina. Christina, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
And we are your hosts for the podcast. And we were inspired to create the podcast after pondering this question. What would the world look like where we can all be inspired by every person? And usually we're very quick to compare and judge ourselves to others, right? To ourselves or to others, actually, because sometimes we compare ourselves to who we were yesterday or who we could be tomorrow. And when we do that, everybody's losing. So depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking, or arrogant or dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options. And neither of those options make us feel great. So now here's our thought. Someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from first impressions, and we invite you, the listener, to go beyond first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There is inspiration at every corner, in everyone, if we're willing to look. And today, we're here with Gitanjali Koppikar, and she's in Australia visiting us right now. So Gitanjali, you want to say hi and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello. Well, it's really great to be with both of you and be on this podcast. And so I've been living in Australia for now about 18 years, maybe a little bit longer. But we met in New York, and I came to New York from India when I was 20 to study art, and that was something completely unexpected that I didn't even imagine would happen in my life, and my life's taken many different turns and twists, and here I am making art again. So it's great. It's great to be on.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing a little bit, right? It's like, yes, twists and turns, right? You did art, and then you are also into energy, like Reiki, EMF, and I remember going to a cryon channel with you when it was in
Yeah.
somebody's apartment.
Yeah.
So it's been a long journey, right?
Very long journey. But I think that's really great because I always thought I would do one thing and I would study art and that would be my whole life. And life throws us whatever life throws us, and then we make choices along the way. And there's so many dimensions that we have that we don't even know are there to be developed. And then somehow, I think now in my 50s, I think all of those dimensions are starting to come together, and experiencing the artist in me, my spiritual work, um, all the transformation journey, and traveling around the world, all of that somehow coming together to experience this multifaceted uh, experience of being who I am out in the world.
And it impacts each part impacts the totality of who you are and who you've become, and how precious and beautiful that is, right?
Exactly.
So can you finish this sentence for me? If you really knew me, you would know. What would we know about you if we really knew you?
Well, if you really knew me, you would know that I love everything from um, the simplest life, where I can just enjoy walking along the beach, and at the same time, I really enjoy culture and art, and and just exploring, traveling around the world, seeing art, making art, everything about that. And then I really enjoy people and working with people in discovering who they are and all the dimensions of who they are. And I love travel, and I think really life. So I think it's all of that. And I love studying all kinds of things that I never imagined, from neuroscience to ancient cultures. And somehow my intention is that all of that comes through in my art in this last era of my life. Yeah.
It's so incredible, Gitanjali, because we met when you were in art school in New York City many moons ago. And it's definitely one of the things that I've always loved about you is this incredible quest for knowledge and curiosity for life and meeting people and learning about cultures and just throwing yourself into whatever life throws at you. But also the playfulness that you bring to everything you do. You just have this incredible childlike curiosity and glee when you do things that's just infectious to be around. And so just utterly grateful to have you on the program to share that little gleeful,
Yes.
little fairy like energy that you have, because it's just so lovely.
It's
So next,
magic.
it's
I think
magical.
it just is. I just get when you
It
said it,
is.
it's magic and bringing magic to just life, whatever is possible. And there are definitely times where that magic is kind of like dwindled. And there are times where that magic is really bright and like in its full, what should I say, full expression.
Yeah, yeah.
And but it's the magic's always there. And the looking for the magic that other people bring to the conversation and to whatever is happening, like I'm always looking for the magic and the synchronicity that happens when there's magic between people.
Absolutely. It's
I didn't
beautiful.
know I didn't know I was saying any of that. That's great.
See what happens?
See what happens?
All right. So Gitanjali,
Hold on a second. I actually was, as you were talking, I was thinking back, like all the way in the beginning when we met, and we just had come to the US. That was like our first and second year in the US, and we would have these parties where we all would get together in our apartment, and it was just like the conversations that were there, right? And then we got the, I'm gonna say, the honor to celebrate your 50th with you in India. And again, like the conversation of the people that came together, and it feels like there's no coincidence, right? There's no, that we get to cross paths every so often, right? Like I was sharing how when we went to Australia, another gal that was on a podcast, I got to see her again, right? And I again, right, when we were in Australia, we got to see you in Sydney and spend 2 days with you, and like the continuity of that is just really beautiful, and growing together in a way, right? It's just really exciting. So
Yeah, that trip in India was so magical, and it was so great to create it. It was literally from a conversation, like, let's do this. And then it just got built, and we imagined, like, what would it be like to have my birthday, which was on Indian New Year? Where would we want to be? And then I just imagined we would be in the palace, on the terrace of the palace, with fireworks all around, and really celebrating that magic of you guys coming from New York and us coming from Australia, and it really was perfection. And then to travel around India in just seeing all the different little cities, the palaces, the temples, and I got to show you a piece of my country after talking about it for so many years that we've known each other. I think it was perfect.
it was a special gift you gave us, Gitanjali, to experience India from your point of view and seeing the things that you always loved and told us about was really special. Yeah. All right, ready for your next question?
Yeah.
Tell us something funny or silly or embarrassing.
Well,
I think the universe gave you one today if you'd like to
yeah,
share.
the universe just gave me one today where I literally was um, here ready for this call, and I stepped out and got locked out. But another one, I was just thinking while you were saying it, we just had Mardi Gras and we had the whole parade here. And I was just thinking, I first came to New York and I had never seen a Halloween parade. And my friends in art school, they everybody dressed up, and this is a really funny, silly thing, but they got all these, like, I don't know, about 50 helium balloons, and I didn't know what they were going to do. But then they got my hair in like all these braids, and they put a helium balloon at the end of every braid. And suddenly I'm in this apartment with my hair standing up with like 50 helium balloons at the end of it. And then, and this was not planned. So I don't kind of remember how it all happened. But then we had to get in the subway and get to the parade on 6th Avenue. So we had to maneuver these like balloons through the subway, making sure it was hilarious. And I just thought of it when you said something silly, because we just had the parade here. But I think that's that was when I was
How did you
20.
manage? How did you manage if you have the
I
helium balloons? 50,
I don't know.
like
It
that's a
was that
lot.
was the but it actually, what was hilarious was that it just created conversation. Like everybody came up and we started talking, and it I was a very shy little Indian girl, and it got me, like, I'd never been so colorful and loud and out there, and and I had to just kind of, it just opened me up to talking to all kinds of people, and then we just walked in the parade with all these balloons, and now thinking back, that was just hilarious, and one of
And
those
I'm like,
things that I
I'm trying to envision you with 50 balloons getting into the subway. And I'm like, how, like there's no space for that.
had to
There's
hold them down, and I have a photo of it. I think we took a few of them off, but I have a photo with
yeah.
somewhere.
I
Okay.
need, yeah, I want to see that photo one day.
I'd love to see that too. Yeah. So, Gitanjali, what's your superpower?
Um, I think my superpower, well, I wouldn't have said magic, but now I can see creating things magical. But I think my superpower is connecting people.
Mm.
I connect people. I literally talk to people and I go, I know who you should meet. And then I just have caused so many things in the world because I know people all over the world, and I would just talk to someone and I'd go, I know who you should meet. I know, and I think that's, I didn't think I would say that, but yeah, I think that's something that I've always known about myself. And I love when that happens and I connect people, and then I get a message saying, oh my God, we just hung out. And it's like, that's exactly perfect, because I knew something would happen with the two of you, whether it's a project or, yeah. And then I
So
bring my creativity to it. But I think combination of that, yeah.
absolutely. Like so you're networking, but because you see energy so differently than I think the average person, you're seeing them on a very different level, right? But then you add that creativity to the mix, and you can see these possibilities that weren't even evident to the average person, which is
Yeah.
your magic, Gitanjali. It's like
Yeah, I
weaving
can
all of those
see.
things together.
Yeah, I can see that if you connected with this person, something would happen between the two of you that I don't know what it is, but I can see the realm and the possibility that would open up in that connection. And so lots of projects have happened, whether it's in India or the US, just from my connecting people with people. Yeah.
So powerful.
And
So Gitanjali, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, no accident. I'm
Yeah,
not doing
exactly.
anyway.
All right. So this one has 3 different parts. You can answer it one piece or all of it or however you feel it. But so what made you who you are today? Or what was your biggest lesson? Or what took the most courage? Or when did you take a stand for something that mattered? So her,
Really,
want to take a piece or whatever.
it's a really good question, or really good questions. Um, so I don't know if there's any one thing that I could say, but I think it's a series of different events in my life, I think. But I think what what was the courageous, now looking back, right? Like here I am in my 50s, I look back. I think the first biggest courageous thing in my life was to not go along with what everybody did in India at that time, and choose art. And like my dad's one of those genius people, mathematicians. Everyone expected me to do something like that, and not that I have that genius mathematical ability, but I always knew that I wanted to do art. And my dad actually was the one who said, it's really pretty amazing. I was 14 and he said, there's plenty of people in India who want to be doctors and engineers. You don't need to join the rat race. Like there's going to be no shortage of engineers and doctors in India, but nobody's going to have your talent as an artist. And my science teacher wanted me to go to medical school, and he said, I don't think you should do that. And then he introduced me to his very dear friends who I've known. They're architects and they had an architecture firm. And he introduced me to them from the perspective to talk to them about what the art options were, whether I want to do architecture, design. And he said, I think you should do fine art. And I was like, there's no money in it. And so I didn't do I did art, but I thought I would do more like advertising and design, because I thought at least I don't want to be a woman who depends on somebody else for money. I want to be able to like have a career. But when I went to New York, I realized he was right. And I switched to fine art. It's kind of ironic, but yeah. And so I think the most courageous thing I've done is to choose that path, and then take the risk and apply to universities. We applied to like 20 or 30 different universities when I was 19, and everybody said I was too young to do a master's program. And but the dean of School of Visual Arts, Marshall Arisman, he called me and he said, I'm looking at your slides and I'm accepting you into the master's program. And I could not believe it. And everybody else said I needed 2 more years of school before I could apply. And so off I went to New York. And I think that was probably the first courageous, risky, never left the country, never seen anybody other than Indians and a few tourists. And off I went, landed at JFK, and life went on from there. So that was the beginning of a series of other risks I took in my life. So I think that's one of your questions.
It's really beautiful because there's so many aspects to it, right? It's like your dad really standing for you and supporting you and allowing you to choose, right? And then you wanting to go for the practical route, but because it's like we need to be productive and but then still choose something different, like letting that go and choose something different, really what worked for you, which is so beautiful, right? And the other thing that I hear when you're saying that is sometimes when you take the first courageous act, life shows you the way with just another one, another one, another one, another one. And you get to choose to follow or not, right? But still, you take the first step, and then you have the courage to take the next one, and you have the courage to take the next one, which is
Exactly.
really beautiful.
Exactly. And then I've done so many things that people would call courageous that didn't seem courageous. And even that, at that time, I didn't think, well, I'm doing something courageous. I was just doing where life was leading me and this opportunity that came up. And but in hindsight, um, looking back, that was risky. Yeah.
Well, we talked about that the other day, right? Where from the outside, people see something that for us is like we just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Right. But for them on the outside, and that's in a way in line with our podcast, right? It's like somebody else's extraordinary. No, somebody else's ordinary is our extraordinary. We see it from the outside and like, whoa, that was just really incredible, right? So can we see it? Can we see it from the other side that we are extraordinary to other people as well, right?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're the first to put ourselves down, right? So it's so much easier to see it in someone else than to see it in ourselves. So once again, why we're here, right? To really be a stand for people owning their magnificence and their own magic. We each have a unique magic that we bring to life, and we want to celebrate that.
Yeah.
So, Gitanjali, tell us about a time when you took a chance for love, and not necessarily romantic love. It could be self-love, it could be whatever kind of love.
Well, I think on the shoulders of what I just said, I think that's where, that quote that we used to love, we used to always talk about it. And Lao Tzu says, because of true love, one is courageous. And you can hear that in so many ways, that quote. And I haven't thought of that one for a while, but it just clicked for me is that my love for my art was so big, and the possibility of what I saw and was in the presence of in the conversations that I had in making that choice to apply for art school. So it was that love that gave me the courage. And that's when it doesn't occur like, oh, I'm being courageous. You are doing it for the love of something. And um, and I think I would say that's the biggest one. And even now, like choosing to after all of these years of not making art as a career in my 50s, to get back to nothing and start like, okay, I want to devote the rest of my life to making art. And I want to make the kind of art that really brings together who people are, everything I've stood for, my love for making a difference. Somehow I'm trusting that in this next era of my life, somehow that will come together, whether it's in collaborations or it's in my own work. But my work always has something there's always a story under every piece I make that it leads me there. And that's why there's so much different kind of art, but it comes from my connection with people. I did this series of work on cardboard that was that began with my own journey as an Indian woman who's an immigrant living in Australia, and really discovering what it is to have my own personal reconciliation with this land and honor the land. And that allowed for a whole series of images. So, and then there's a whole other range of a whole body of work I'm doing now that is about Kashmir. and people know Kashmir as what people know about Kashmir is that a lot of Hindus and Muslims were killed during the partition, and they know the history of it, which has been always very impactful for me. And when I went to Kashmir, I saw this most like paradise and bullets going through the walls and all next to each other. And the deaths of so many people was very present in as I was just walking around and just enjoying the beauty, but there was always that right there about the history of India and the India-Pakistan partition. And but the angle I'm taking in this art is like Kashmir was the seat or the center of art in India, art, craft, culture. And there was all this merging of people from Iran and the Mughal Empire and the Hindu pundits that were there, all kind of this beautiful art got created in Kashmir, and all of those artists escaped or were killed, and that art, the loss of that art, is right there at the same time. And so, as an artist, looking from that perspective and going, okay, there's the history of it, but what can I now shine light on as an artist looking at it? And so I've made all of these images of Kashmir, where I've taken my watercolors that I did when I was 18, and then I've overlapped them with photographs I took of Kashmir when I went there 10 years ago or something, and my drawings, and they're all digitally merged. And they look like these really old photographs. And I'm going to combine them with poetry, maybe written by poets who had to escape, and yeah. So I think there's a body of work that's emerging. So everything comes from that place of having this lived experience of having gone through life and bringing my perspective on that body of work. So yeah, that's some of what I'm in the middle of right now. And there's a few others, but yeah, this is a couple of pieces I'm working on. Yeah,
Just a little bit. Just a bit of stuff going on.
I
Gitanjali.
spend time.
It's so beautiful because I've seen your cashmere watercolors from when you were younger, and I've seen your current work too. And I think the juxtaposition of the beauty of cashmere with the unrest and everything else going on in that region has always been apparent to me, but I don't think I got the layers of storytelling that are going into the new work. Like, it's so much deeper than I got until hearing you talk about it. So thank you, because I can see your new art from a very different lens now that you've shared that with us.
Yeah, I just recently took a piece of cardboard and I painted it blue. I took 4 pieces of cardboard, painted them blue, and there's something important to this. It's not all worked out, right? But and I had this flash of this moment of standing in Kashmir, looking through a window that was full of like ash, almost of like bullets or whatever. Like it was just the window wasn't clean. They had just had a like, I don't know, there was something had happened and there was just bullets and rifles and war and there were just, there's always pockets of that there, and there's just unrest, and then it kind of comes down and then it starts again. And then there were these bullets through the walls, and there's something like, as an artist, you look at these old walls that there's something really beautiful about the texture of the wall, but you know it's bullets. So there's a whole story behind it, right? And so I started to make holes in this cardboard, in this blue, because that was the mosques, and like they have that blue walls, and there were the holes through it. So I started making holes through them, And then at some point, I don't know what happened. I flipped the cardboard over and I started making the holes from the other side. And so you can see it's like the bullets going from one side and then they're coming from the other side. And so this whole cardboard has these holes from two different directions. And it's just given what's happening in the world today. And this, it's just like this wall with the bullets from both directions. And then I was just confronted by its happenings all over the world. And then at some point I was just holding it up to the light, and all this light came through those holes. And you can't even talk about any of this. So there's only expressing it. And if you look at it, it's a beautiful piece of blue cardboard with holes in it. And it's a beautiful texture and all of that. But there is the process of making it was I pushed through the pain of making those holes and kind of experienced this whole lifetime and this whole journey of a whole culture of people while I was making it. So when you post it on Facebook, people don't know all of that. And it's not something you can convey when you post it. But there's a whole world there that I want to find a way to be able to communicate it, and through writing or video or something that kind of brings it together. Yeah.
What did that experience provide for you, Gitanjali, being able to express whatever you got to express through that piece of art?
Well, I've kind of put myself. I was very young when all of this happened, and I wasn't born during the partition. I think my dad was born just when, like in the 40s, right? But I could put myself there and go through that experience. Like, obviously, it's imagining what it must have been. You'll never know what it is for anyone anyway, right? But it's more than anything else, I would love if I could just magically, like, wave a magic wand. I would just want that glory of that art and everything to be restored. And I don't know. I think it's I experienced my own journey of it, or my own grieving of the loss of that art, the being able to be with the reality of that's what actually happened, and to be able to be with it. And yeah, there was sadness, and but I was also at the same time thinking of the war in what's happening in Ukraine. I was thinking of Gaza, all of that while I was making that piece. And I thought, if I could just really wish, what I want for the world is for us to just see that we're all the same, and we don't have to go through life this way. We really could just be discovering who each other are, and then the light in people.
Well, what I think is beautiful is, like, there's the pain, but there's the light coming through. And then there's the pain and there's the light coming through. It's just it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to think about it, right? And then hearing the whole background story is just, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I haven't shared this with anyone yet. So it's just new. I just have been working on these for the last 2 weeks. So yeah, so I'm not fluent in articulating it in a way that communicates to everybody. It's very raw. So I guess this whole call is, everything is very raw, and none of this was planned to say, but here it is. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, Gitanjali, I obviously know your art fills you up, but what else fills you up in life? What recharges your batteries so that you can sit down powerfully and create what you're inspired to create, or, do the work that you're doing, networking and connecting people? What is it that gives you that energy and that charge in
Well,
life?
there's music. and nature. And I have this beautiful walk when I come to work that's through the park. And it literally has these trees that come together on the like this canopy. And it just goes all the way. And 15 minutes of my walk to work is walking under this canopy of these really, it's like Central Park, that with those trees just all, but these are these really old, beautiful fig trees that just really go all the way up. And it's just beautiful to walk underneath it. And I get charged. And every day as I walk, and I'm always just looking up when I walk down through there. And it's my time where I'm just always being grateful to have my day start walking under these trees. And then at night, and you see the little flecks of the night light through the trees. And so I think that's it's really great to be in Sydney with the botanical gardens are right near me, and the harbor's so beautiful. So I just enjoy in the ocean. I just go walk along the cliffs, and I think that's what's really recharging. And the music, and I paint to music. So I hardly ever make art when I'm not listening to music. So I've been listening for over a year. I've been listening to Anushka Shankar. Well, I've been painting to Anushka Shankar's music for a long time, but especially since I started painting again. And she was here in Sydney in January, and I went to see her perform at the Opera House. And then she performed the following day under the stars in the open air, and it was absolutely gorgeous. She performed with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and then a couple of days ago I got to see Arooj Aftab, who won the Grammy for her. She's a Pakistani musician living in New York, and I was listening to one of her interviews about like really making that choice if music is for her. And I just saw myself in her. And she came to New York when she was 19 or 20. And and she stayed true, but she only did music, but didn't have so many changes like mine. But I could really resonate with her like a kindred spirit. And it was so great to see her perform a couple of days ago. City Recital Hall, where I led an event 12 years ago. So I hadn't been back there since I led that event. So I went and saw her perform. It was amazing. And then I listened to lots of different kind of music. I listened to Australian didgeridoo and some Australian sopranos that are like I've been painting to this war requiem for peace that an Australian soprano, Deborah Cheetham, wrote, that I've been listened to about 100 times and painted to that music. So yeah, so I think that's, and I love really amazing food. There's nothing like eating amazing food, listening to great music, having great conversation, and having art and beauty around you. So maybe you can combine it all.
But you probably could, and like it kind of covers all the bases, right? Really beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Gitanjali, if you had a magic wand and you could give people any quality, like any quality, what would it be and why?
Well, it's what I just said is that if I could wave a magic wand, I would just have people have the quality of being inquisitive and curious and bring like a wonder to people and to discovering people and how different everybody is and what we bring to the game of life and to this experiment called the human race and this planet. And why are we trying to have everyone be the same color, the same religion? Like that would be so boring.
Agreed.
Like what are we trying to achieve by trying to prove one is better than the other? It's like asking me to compare between Indian food and Mexican, like if I eat Indian every day for 4 days, I get bored. Like you have to have, I like to have everything like the spice of life. And why would you want everyone to be the same, have the same religion, have the same thoughts, have the same concepts, have the same beliefs, have the same hobbies or desires? Like it just would be so boring. And we actually have the perfect situation of people, like so many languages, so much different music, so many cultures. Like why don't we just really um, enjoy what there is already? So yeah, that's what I would love, if people would would start to go, wow, I'm in this multicultural city. Like, let me go, and there's this festival going on. Let me go and discover what this culture is. Like, I love more than anything else meeting people from different cultures and going into their homes or into their communities and enjoying celebrating their festival with them and learning about, like, I've got a lot of Sri Lankan friends here now, and I went for Pongal and the Harvest Festival, and we celebrate that in the south of India too, but they do it differently. And it was so great. And they told me all about it. And so I think that's very exciting to me. It would be great
And
if
what I was
people.
going to say about that is it's the difference that actually has us grow, right? Because if everybody's the same, then well, we're bored and we're just, you know. But it's the difference that causes sometimes even a little friction that causes us to question who we are and what we're doing and where we're going and all of that.
Yeah, and even same with the different careers. Like, there's such a push in India and in our South Asian cultures to be academic and study IT and study medicine, and but we come from a culture of temples and carvings and art. Like, that has a very powerful place in society. The place that art has in society, a lot of people don't get the power of it. If we didn't have art and beauty in society, and or there's a conversation like, if you're an artist, you're just woo woo, versus I do a lot of rigorous thinking and research before I make my art. And on a regular basis, I'm reading poetry almost every day, reading like reading about things, discovering new music. Like, all of that is happening for something from all of that to filter into the art. I don't know what it's going to be. So I'm always engaging in like just getting interested in different things that are new, because I don't know what's going to come through me.
Yeah,
And
but we live in this world of useful or not useful, right? Rather than everything's useful, everything has its place, right? If you only have brainiacs, then nothing gets done. Nobody picks up the garbage. Nobody, it's like we really need every piece of it. If we don't have the beauty, like beauty brings that relief and that excitement and but well, it's not useful, you know.
yeah, and actually, all the arts, the music, painting, and just extension of all the different arts are actually like very, very useful. Like, we think it's not, but it's what fills the soul. It fills the it revives people. It brings, like, how do you talk about the sound of the harp or the sound of the piano or the sound of the that just can heal someone's sadness, that no matter what you say will not do it.
Agreed.
when the towers came down, and um, I just was remembering when the towers came down, and as you know, all my art was there, and well, a big chunk of it, most everything that I hadn't given away or sold got destroyed, right? And I realized at that time that nothing anybody is going to say is going to make that okay or go away, or that sadness to go away. And it really was like just a musical note, or looking at the light on the water and being touched by that, that suddenly you're just like, okay, everything's going to be okay in the world. Like moments of that. And
It's the beauty. It's the beauty in the beauty that helps heal the tragedy, that heals. Absolutely.
It brings people together, right? Especially music, not to, you know, I mean, yes, we can come together at museums and look at art, but music, people
music,
really find solace and community and or
yeah,
celebration, right? Like
music and food,
just
but music, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
I had
but
this I had this gentleman sitting next to me at the. He heard about Arufa Club's music, and he came there, and he had never heard of her before. He just literally heard of her, and she was performing only once in Sydney, and he didn't understand Urdu, and he didn't understand, but he just was like stopping, and just he stopped breathing, and he would just like soaking it in, and then he would just say wow, or like, and he didn't, and I was like, if you understood the meaning of the words, 'cause she sings, she puts music to Rumi's poetry also. So the words are also really beautiful. And I was like, you don't even know the meaning, and you're loving it. If you could understand what that meant. And yeah, so it's just
that's the
amazing.
energy of it, right? Like you don't even have to know the words. It just so speaks to your soul and moves you and nudges you and yeah, you don't need words, right? Like for those times when words can't be found or music can be that balm or that I don't know what the right word is, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good stuff, good stuff. All right, last
And
question.
I'm really grateful to have lived in New York, and I am, and I'm really grateful to have, like, I wouldn't change a thing about my life. And I think even though a lot of kinds of things, stuff has happened in the past over the last 50 odd years, I wouldn't change a thing. And I just really am so grateful to have had the opportunity to grow up in a country where there was so much culture. And then I'm so happy that I chose to be in New York, and to be in New York in the 90s, where it was just a great time, art and meeting people, and the economy was great. Like the US, New York was amazing in the 90s. And then I'm really grateful to have had 20 years of traveling so many cultures. I never ever thought that I would have the opportunity to make a difference to people in Korea, and work with people who had escaped from North Korea, and um, work with people, and work with monks in Thailand and coach them, um, and then going back to India to lead the forum, and uh, work with people in my culture, seeing it from another place, and just getting the years of stuff that's been there, um, and seeing every time I would go back, I started to see my country from new eyes. So it was like I transformed, and I would go back and see my culture, my city, my country in a new way. And every time I went back, I would see it a new way, because the culture was transforming, and I also was transforming. So that's what those paintings, coming back full circle, that's what those paintings are about. It's the layers, like of the work I did when I was 18. And then every trip I went back, something altered in how I saw my culture, and how it was also transforming every time I went back, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years later. So I look forward to doing a trip in India where I can just travel and paint and see what I can, from everything I have accomplished and experienced, see what comes out of me the next time I go. So, yes.
Yeah, and how beautiful to have your artwork to look back and see that progression, right? Like sometimes it's not obvious when we're going through things, but to be able to look back at your art and see the transformation and and the different perspective changes you've gotten to have access to from all your experiences, it's really profound and a true gift, right? To have that to go and yeah, it's just lovely. All right, last question. You ready?
Yeah.
What do you want people to remember about you, Gitanjali?
Ah, I don't know. I've never ever given any thought to that. Um, I think my spirit, whatever that means to everyone. Yeah, and it's hasn't been the same over the years. So people remember me in different ways. Yeah. Yeah, from the free-spirited 20-year-old in New York to who I am today. So it's not the same, but my spirit underneath and through everything.
Your
Yeah,
spirit.
and I really represent, and as it's International Women's Day today, and um, like I really stand for that, the the courage, the spirit, the beauty, the sourcefulness, the creativity that women represent. And I'm all of that. And we are all of that. And all of us are all of that, And so sometimes some dimensions shine brighter, some facets shine brighter, but all of those dimensions are there. And that's the essence and the spirit and coming together of all of who I am, who you are, who we as a collective of women are.
Absolutely. It's like a kaleidoscope, right? Like
Yes.
it just, you know, you see things from different angles, it just looks so different. And you put three different energies together and whoa, what's amazing comes out of it. And it's just been such a pleasure to have you with us today, Gitanjali. Yeah.
I love you both.
We love you too. We were really thrilled to have you on today, for having you play with us because, doesn't matter how old you are, you will always be the most playful, childlike curiosity. Like pictures from India come up, Gitanjali, of you on the camel just waving and yes, you're a 50-year-old woman, but you see the 5-year-old in you playing and you will never lose that always comes shining through and you'll always see the world from this childlike curiosity and just eager to see the magic in everyone and everything around you, that it's such a pleasure to be around you. Even if you're in Australia, it's a pleasure to be with you on a Zoom. So yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm so grateful that you are both doing this, and the difference that it makes for women to, like, these questions are really great, and there are it just, and that's why I intentionally didn't plan anything. I just thought, okay, I had an idea what you were going to ask, but I didn't prepare because I wanted to have the answers or my response arise from our being together instead of me thinking through it. And I pretty much didn't say anything that I thought I would say. So, I mean, maybe a little bit, but yeah. So I think it's great. I'm really grateful you're doing this, and our friendship is one that even if we don't see each other, it's like no time is gone, and it'll be great if we do do
Get
this
together
more often,
soon.
not necessarily the podcast, but yeah, we connect more. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Gitanjali, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, thank you for listening. If you've loved our podcast, please leave us a review. Please share with your friends. And please always remember, you are extraordinary. You rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Martina?
Bye for now.